Welcome to the show, everyone. Happy Monday. Happy rain. A little bit of rain. It's kind of neat. Different weather for us out here. You know what? I'm going to go in right with my networking right away with everybody. My first guest has been on with me a few times before. I have with me David Martinez. He's the owner of CDM Law Firm. It's an estate planning and business law firm. Welcome to the show. You're also a little bit of an author as well. Yeah. So welcome to the show. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself. And I'm going to say it this way, why it was so important for you to come on the show as like right now.
You know, Carol, the last few weeks I've just had various situations happen. I've had clients call me and it hasn't been good news. Okay, I've had clients call me and one elderly lady called me and her husband is in the hospital now and he's in critical care and she wanted to just be assured that the things that we had done for them are in place. In fact, we used some of the documents immediately to help her and that's just one. I had another friend of mine that just got hit by a bicycle while she was walking by a car, and she was in critical care and we had some planning for her. And then I have some other situations that have happened where people have passed and they don't have anything. And so, you know, I just felt like people really need to understand now is the time they need to do something.
At all times right now, especially what we've been going through with COVID and all of that, at all times, we really more for anything, you should do it for yourself. If you've got kids over 18, please, let's make sure that they're taken care of too. You have a book. I'm going to go into some of the things that we talked about before, and I want to open up the lines for everyone to be able to get this book. It's estate planning, your future, giving your family certainty and peace of mind. So you wrote this book. Tell everybody a little tiny bit about it, and I'm going to open up the lines. I'll get it out there, the lines to the audience for everyone to be able to get it.
You know, I wrote this book so that people could understand the basic answers to the questions that they have. Why do they need a plan? What does it include? Why is it so important? And it's very simple. It's only about 50 pages, but it's a quick read, but it'll answer some of those questions that are on a lot of people's minds.
And I love it that it is easy for you, for anybody to just, you know, it's like a little reference guide, right? And it's important for everyone just to give it, if it's you or someone that you know, give us a call here at the station and get the book. And I'm going to let everyone call throughout the rest of the show for it. Our number here is 602-277-5369. Toll free, it's 1-866-536-1100. You've got a brand new website that I know that you've had open when last time you came on, so I want to get that out. You could check him out on his website. It's Estate Planning, the number 4, the letter U.com, and you're located in Chandler, but you can help anyone from anywhere. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Now, when you work with people, do you do free consultations?
We do free consultations, and right now we've been doing more and more telephone consultations and even Zoom calls, and I found, even though I was a little skeptical, that a Zoom call can be a much more personal than I first thought.
It's opened another world to all of us. So now the phone number to call, it's 480-454-1540. He's rated with the Better Business Bureau. You do second opinions as well. People, listen up. Even if you already have something, they may need to be dusted off and, you know, checked out a little bit, correct?
That's right.
Call in here, get entered into win. Well, we're just going to give everyone the book. Number here, 602-277-5369. Okay, stories. I know that there's important for people to understand a few different things. Number one, I want to know first the difference between a medical power of attorney and just a regular one, a general one.
Right. So there's two different things. There's a durable or a general durable power of attorney. That's a power of attorney that gives somebody the right to act as if they're you for things that are non-medical related. So for instance, and I give this example even between a husband and a wife, only one of you may open up the account with SRP and then the other spouse calls and they can't even talk and they say, oh, you need to get your spouse on the phone. Well, that's fine. But if your spouse is in the hospital and they're not able to, now what are you going to do, right? Something so simple that we take for granted is an important document. Of course, it's much more important than that. I told you the example of the woman that called me and her husband was in the hospital and they had some issues with Medicare. And she had to use the general power of attorney in order to dispute kind of some of the treatment that he was receiving through Medicare. It wasn't through the medical power of attorney. it was through that general power of attorney.
So more so than ever, this, just because of the world that we live in now, the importance of having your estate planning done. And again, I'm going to say this. I know a lot of people think that they have to have money in order to have an estate plan. It isn't about that at all. It's really not about, of course, some of it is, but not all of it is. I think the most important parts of it are not.
Right. You know what? You don't need to be rich, and you don't need to have a lot of money to have an estate plan. I tell people, as soon as you have kids of your own, you need to have something in place, because if something happens to you and your spouse, you want to know, hey, we want our kids to go to this person. This is who we want and who we pick. You may not have the person you want if you don't designate it in writing. You also want your kids to get things the way that you want them to get it. You don't want it to necessarily be all at once at 18 years old. I have another example of, and this is another sad example of a young man who had a young boy. He's divorced, and he passed away. He actually took his own life. And so it's a very sad moment. But now what we have is we have money that he left behind, and he designated his son as a beneficiary. But now we have to go through court. We have to get somebody appointed as a conservator for that money. And then young man's going to get money all at 18, and it's going to be a lot of money. That's probably not how his dad wanted it to happen, but now that's the default. And so I just encourage everyone, you know what? Take the time to do this. This is one of the most important things you can do. People want to take care of their loved ones. It's something that's near and dear to everyone, but you need to decide how that's going to happen, and it's through legal documents that it happens.
Now, the book is called Estate Planning for Your Future. It is giving your family certainty and peace of mind. He wrote this book for everyone to have that. Our number here is 602-277-5369. Toll free, it's 1-866-536-1100. I think it's super important for people to just get the book. Start off with that. Have that conversation with you. It's a free consultation. Sit down and find out some of the questions that you might have that he can answer for you. If you already have one done, have it dusted off, check it out, make sure that everything is all up to snuff for today's times, right? Again, that number to call here, 602-277-5369. Toll free, it's 1-866-536-1100. Before we go to a break, I just want to talk a little bit about a living will and why it's so important for everybody to have these documents right now.
Right. Well, you know what? I want to just go back to the other question and lead into the living will. We talked about the general power of attorney, which is over non-medical decisions. We also have what's called medical directives, which comprises of a medical power of attorney. Somebody is able to make medical decisions for you, and that's very general because you're not able to make them for yourself. The living will is a companion to the medical power of attorney. A living will is basically end-of-life instructions. It tells your loved one, look, if I'm in a situation where I have a short time to live, or I'm in a coma, or if I'm in a vegetative state, and it's something that the doctors say is not going to be reversible or curable, this is what I want in terms of life sustaining treatment. I don't want to be kept alive. I don't want to be on a breathing machine. Those types of questions are answered.
Again, it's so important because when you don't, what happens is, first of all, the families fight because one person will say you wanted one thing, another one's. Main thing is when it's written down, first of all, your wishes are being carried out. And this part is for you. The other part is that you've made it now simpler for your family, right?
That's exactly right.
We've got our lines open here for everyone to get his book. We're going to go to a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk further. Our number here is 602-277-5369. Toll free, it's 1-866-536-1100. I don't care if you've done one or not. I really think that everyone should have the book because so many different things come up, and you might even want to change what you have. Again, 602-277-5369. We're going to continue talking because we're still live on Facebook.
Right.
So for you, when you find out, I want to talk to you a little bit about people who have children who are older too. I know you said children, that you want to make sure that you disperse the money right out. But now there's also children that don't have their plans for them. And so what happens with that?
Yeah, you know what? A lot of people will say, what about they don't even think about their 18 or older children, but I tell them, if something happens to one of those children, you always were the default as the parent. And while you're still the default, you no longer have the ability to make a legal decision for your child. They would probably still pick you to make that decision, but if something happens, they're in a car accident, they're unconscious, and you need to step in and take care of their needs, meaning like their rent or their car payment or they're taught to their employer, you can't do that if you don't have anything that authorizes you to act.
We're going to talk a little bit more about that when we come back live too, so that they can hear that on air, because I think it's really important for people too. Now, and that just gave me an idea too, even for me personally, because I have one, but I don't know that we have one for my kids. And that should be, so each individually should have their own if they're over 18, correct?
At least those two documents, right? Because even a medical decision, most of the time the doctors will defer to you because you're the parent, but they could just as well say, well, you're not really the one legally authorized to make any medical decisions anymore either.
Right. And you never know.
And you don't know. And you could get somebody that's difficult. You hope that won't happen, but you could.
Yeah. And I'm sure you've dealt with things like that too. Are there any other stories that you wanted to talk about, so I know when we get back, or have you got covered in all of those?
You know, I think they may just come up. There's a lot of different things that have been going on lately.
So you're liking, see how the more you get it, the more comfortable you'll get?
If you own rental properties anywhere in the valley, Denali Real Estate can provide you with the best overall value. Guaranteed. Denali Real Estate Property Management offers 6% management fee, no startup fees, no long-term contracts, and a money-back guarantee. Mention KFNX and we'll fill your first vacant property for free. Please call 480-626-4062. That's 480-626-4062. Or visit our website, DenaliArizona.com.
These are all my ads. This is my longest running guest right now.
Oh.
And the guy before that's been on for 6 years, 7 years now. A lot of people on for years. So we have our lines open here. We've been talking to everybody on Facebook right now because during the break now we're live on Facebook. So we have been, talking to everybody a little bit about some of the things that people don't think about when your children are 18 and older. We have our lines open here for everyone to call in and get the book that David wrote. It is Estate Planning Your Future, Giving Your Family Certainty and Peace of Mind. I believe everybody should have the book right by, in their office so that they can, God forbid, something happens, they have some questions, because, your estate planning doesn't just get done and it's done, right? It is something that kind of changes periodically. Something can happen in the family. You just want to make sure that you update them right now. I think so very important that everyone's are updated, especially with the world that we live in right now. Anyone that's thinking you don't need one, believe me, you do. So our number here is 602-277-5369. Toll free, it's 1-866-536-1100. And I'm going to let everyone call throughout the rest of the show. David is rated with the Better Business Bureau. He does free consultations. He does second opinions all the time. His website is Estate. Which one do you want to do? AZ Estate Planning for you? Is that the one that you want? Okay, I think I might have said. So it's AZ Estate Planning, the number 4, the letter U.com. He helps anyone from anywhere, and that's wonderful to be able to do that right now. At the break, we were talking about kids over 18 and why they also need to have one, or at least the documents that we're talking about.
Right. Well, most of our kids that are just 18 or just a little above 18 don't have a lot of assets. The thing is, they now become more independent. And as parents, we start to think, oh, well, I'm just the go-to if something happens to them. The problem is, while that was easily the case beforehand, it's not so easy afterwards. For instance, if your child is in an accident and they're not able to make decisions for themselves, and let's say they need their car payment, something moved around with their car payment or their insurance, you can't do anything. You don't have the legal right
I never even thought about those things until you mentioned it. I mean, people, in order to pay the rent, listen, the rent they might take, right? I mean, because they want their money. But seriously, when you think about it, when you call to go do, let's say, their bills, if you're not them, They may not be able to do. You may not be able to do it.
Well, they'll take your money. The problem is you're not going to have access to your child's bank account in order to pay the rent.
There you go. That's what it is. Okay.
And then even with regard to medical, again, you are the default, and most likely they're not going to give you a hard time about making a medical decision for your adult child, but they could. And what you want is you want it to be as easy as possible to take care of your loved ones. And that's not just your young children, it's your adult children too, especially the unmarried.
Now our number here is 602-277-5369. I think everyone should have the book. Call in here throughout the rest of the show and get it, so that you'll be you'll be happy if you just start with that. And then have a free consultation with David and just sit down, find out, get some answers, more answers to your questions. What's the number one question that you get asked by everyone usually?
Oh, wow. The number one question really is, what is right for me, right? And the thing, because the people know that they need something, but they don't know what they need. And like I told you, it varies, right? If you're an established person, you have multiple business, multiple rental properties, then you're likely going to have a trust. If you have hardly any assets, and let's say you're older, you have your home and you have one child, we probably don't need to do much. We probably could do a beneficiary deed. You could leave that one house to just your one child. We can make sure that the bank accounts name the child as the pay on death beneficiary. Everything is individual. It just depends on your circumstance. But most people don't know what their options are, and that's why it's important for you to talk to somebody.
I feel that it is so important to have that conversation with you, because like you said, everyone has a story. And that's what you have to sit down and talk about. What's going on? Where are you in your life? What do you have? What do you don't have? Who do you want? What do you want to do? Right?
That's right.
And when you do second opinions, usually, is it somebody that usually had wanted to change something? When you come in and you have somebody that calls you about doing a second opinion, why have they called you for that?
You know, a lot of times, what I just recently had this story where somebody came to me and they said, we went to an attorney, we told him what we wanted, and what he gave us really wasn't that. And I read it with them, and I said, what were you trying to accomplish? And they said this. And the problem is, he just didn't listen. And they were scared, right? They didn't want to speak up and say, well, this doesn't cover our situation. And they just signed it. And so that's too bad. They wasted money to go to somebody who didn't listen to them. Well, we will listen to you.
So important that people do listen, especially when it comes to this. I am so glad you brought that up, because I know when older folks, right, and they've done something, and even if they're with somebody that they've been with a long time, and even if they don't even really like them, they still won't make that change. For some reason, they don't want to be mean, right? The older folks out there. But estate planning is not just for old folks at all.
That's right. And like I alluded to earlier, if you have a young family, it's time for you to, I guess for lack of a better word, grow up and recognize now you have to be an adult. And that means you have to make sure that if something happens to you, that you've made those decisions in advance to decide who's going to take care of my kids, how are they going to be taken care of. And it's not just the estate planning. I work with lots of financial planners, because if you don't have insurance, then there's not really, that might be the only source of money for a young couple to take care of their minor children, and they don't have that. So I often get into some of those details with them, because it's so important that you look at this as a whole and not just as only one piece.
Why did you write your book?
Because people needed to know. They needed to know the answers to some very simple questions. And that's how the book's written. It's basically a question and then an answer. And even though it's called estate planning for your future, it's really estate planning for now and your future, because it's not just about in the future. It's for right now.
Our number here is 602-277-5369, and toll free it's 1-866-536-1100. Everyone gets to get it, and everyone gets to call in and just call throughout the rest of the show, so that you can have it right by your side, so that you understand some of the questions that you might have. I believe everybody should have it, and you know what? Once you do, that peace of mind, once you do something like this, everyone has that sort of lift off of their shoulders, correct?
That is universally the response when people leave my office is, I feel so much better now.
Absolutely. For people that may not, what's the most important? Do you think that life insurance is the most other thing that they should probably have for their children?
If they don't have a lot of other assets, then they need to have something to provide for them, because you can't expect that your guardian's going to just take care of your children on their dime, right? So you need to plan in advance for this whole thing.
The number to call him direct is 480-454-1540. He does free consultations. He's rated with the Better Business Bureau. He is located in Chandler, but he helps people from anywhere. Check him out on his website. It's AZ Estate Planning, the number 4, the letter U.com. Call in here. Get the book at 602-277-5369. When we were talking before, like now, right now, you mentioned some things that, of course, you know, we think about COVID and what's that's done for a lot of people. I'm sure a lot of people are thinking about it more so than ever. But you also mentioned things that were just out of the blue. Something happened, like that lady who got hit by a bike and ended up, she must have hit her head and was in the hospital in coma, or whatever you said. Amazing.
Yeah, you know, something could happen to us. We don't need to just have COVID to make us think of these things. But COVID is making it so it's very prominent.
It sure is, yeah.
But at any moment in time, if you're driving to work, if you're driving home, if you drive and you drive with your spouse, something could happen to one or both of you. You have to plan, and this is what I say to people. We plan for the worst and we hope for the best. I'm not an advocate of worrying about the future. I'm an advocate of planning now and living and enjoying your life with the hopes that you're going to be around for a long, long time.
And being, you know what, having your plans in place, it will give you peace of mind like you can't believe. And I will stress this, though, please, anybody that even has them done, get them out and have a look at them, because like something right now could be different. The laws could have changed. There's things that you may not have in place for HIPAA laws, things like that you might have done a long time ago. Correct? Do you find that happens?
Yeah, I do find that happens. And you know what, I just want to urge people, if you do have somebody and they are in the hospital and there's something going on and you are worried, you need to reach out and you need to ask some questions, because we can still do some things beforehand that will make it easier for you.
So call in here and get the book. Let's start off with that, and you'll get a free consultation that goes along with that. Our number here is 602-277-5369, and toll free it's 1-866-536-1100. He wrote the book for you. It's giving your family certainty and peace of mind, having your estate planning for your future, but not just for your future, for now, is what he said. Again, you can check him out on his website. It is AZ Estate Planning, the number 4, the letter U.com. Call in here. He does second opinions. Get the book. I think everyone should have it. 602-277-5369.